We are live. All right, so welcome everybody. We are here for another show with JWeis Live. We got Phillip Southwick with us here today. Phillip is the general manager at Advantage BMW, correct?
Correct. Midtown, okay. Yep.
And we're proud to say sponsoring this show.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward to a partnership when it comes to that. So at least tonight we got that. We got that in the bag, as you can see. We got Advantage BMW.
Beautiful.
You like that, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, it's good.
That's perfect.
Looks good, right?
I took it one step further and, just make sure that's
I see
on
that.
You zoom in on that, Hector, zoom in.
I was stone unturned.
That's right. So, Phillip Southwick, lots of reasons why we want to have you on.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Appreciate the invite.
As always, we got Johnny Wiseman here.
How you doing?
Good. And I'm Grant. So we're going to get into it pretty quick.
Okay.
So I hope you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready.
Okay, good. All right. So again, Phillip Southwick, General Manager, Advantage BMW. And we're going to talk about a lot of stuff in relation to just general car business information. I have history in the car business. Yep. You do. Johnny has history as far as doing business with car dealerships. So we'll speak a little bit about the business.
Sure.
Specifically, though, we're going to talk about BMW because great brand, and we want to emphasize that and give information out there for people with that. So, but first, the first thing is we want to learn about you, Phillip.
Okay.
So this is kind of the general, let's get to know Phillip. Just tell us about yourself. Tell us as personal as you want to get as far as family, as far as where you grew up, and then, of course, for people out there watching, how you got to this point in your career, how you started off, and we'll kind of interrupt, I guess, as we want to, but we're gonna let you just go at it.
Okay, perfect. So I guess to start at the beginning, born in Houston.
Okay.
Houston native.
Like
yeah, grew up outside in Katy.
Okay, Katy.
And then
Tiger.
No, so we moved just before then.
Okay,
so got through elementary school.
Yeah.
And was excited to go to middle school, and then my parents said, "Hey, we're moving to Europe," and I said, "What? What are you talking about?"
Okay.
What do you mean moving?
You're right.
And
Well, Europe, that's not a bad.
it wasn't bad, but when you're 11 years old, and you say, "Oh, I'm going to lose all my friends."
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I love Texas.
Yeah.
So okay. Fast forward 7 years later, I graduate high school there. So junior high school in outside of Brussels, Belgium.
Wow.
Learned a little French along the way. Don't use any of it now, unfortunately. And my French teacher's probably not too happy with me. But
Can you still speak it?
a little bit.
It
takes me about 2 days if I go to a French-speaking place, and then by the third day, I'm comfortable again.
That's cool.
I forget words, but as a whole, pretty good.
Okay.
Graduated, went off to college in Cleveland, Ohio, because I said, I've already seen Texas, I've seen Europe, so why don't I go see Cleveland, Ohio, and see snow and a depressed economy. And but the nice thing is, I was a rookie with somebody else there in Cleveland, LeBron and I.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we went to Cleveland the same time.
Took Cleveland by storm.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. And we left Cleveland at the same time, too. I didn't have a press conference.
No.
I don't think a lot of Clevelanders were really disappointed to see me go.
Nobody burned your shirt?
No, there were no shirts. So nothing to burn.
Yeah.
And then had an opportunity to come back here to Houston. Joined up at Stoll McCall Lexus as a manager trainee. So for 2 years, I learned kind of the ins and outs of the business. They had me start by washing cars and valeting cars, to working in the service shop, to writing service tickets, to doing parts, sales, finance, and then kind of the overall management of the dealership. And for 2 years, did just about everyone's job, learned it. Didn't always love the jobs I had to do, but if nothing else, I appreciate those that do it now because, frankly, I didn't love doing it myself.
Been there and done it.
Yeah. So after that, I was given an opportunity to go to Advantage BMW, actually the first time, to be a service advisor. 6-8 months after that, was promoted to a service drive manager. 4 months later, then they said, okay, you've got the general idea. We're going to throw you to a Hyundai Fiat store, and you get to be the service director. And after a few days, I said, what am I directing? I've got 2 service advisors. I've got 4 technicians. And I've got 1 parts guy that won't take the cigarette out of his mouth. Indoors. It was a big culture shock coming from a BMW dealership and a Lexus dealership prior to that. Yeah. But you learn something.
Sure.
You build something. So when I left, we had 4 advisors, we had 10, 12 technicians, we had 2 parts guys, and it was successful. 6 months after that, I get moved to a Cadillac store to do sales. I said, well, I don't really want to do sales. They said, too bad. Okay.
So are all those different locations owned by the same company?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So it was all kind of a grand plan that nobody was going to tell me what the plan was. And it was based on, hey, do a good enough job and you get the next job, like anything in life,
Sure.
right? I mean, you can't get the next job if you're not doing this one any good. Off to David Taylor Cadillac, sales manager for a year. Fortunately, a store opened up in Dallas. Formerly Moritz Cadillac became Cadillac of Arlington. We had about 6 months of ownership of that store before they handed off to me as my first time as a general manager. When you manage a small store like that, 47, 48 employees, every dollar matters. You get very good at your business because you have to watch everything, and everything's on you. And those 48 families are counting on the store to do well.
Sure.
So a great appreciation for the small store in the beginning. But almost 2 years later, I get moved to a Dodge store. Much bigger operation, 150 employees.
Is that in Houston as well?
It was in Dallas.
Okay.
So it was all the way on the
you're
east side
still
of
in Dallas.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So 4 or 5 years in Dallas. After about 2 years of good performance at Dallas Dodge, they asked me to come back to Houston. I said, well, okay, I like Houston. Which store? They said BMW. I said, well, which one? We got 2. The one in Midtown. I said, done. And you don't have to run it by your wife or anything. Well, she already knows. It's the one store I said I'd always want to come back to. It's a very unique location, downtown, one-way streets, a bit of a homeless problem we're working on, different buildings, different departments. 99% of all dealerships are under one rooftop, where the whole operation's being worked out of that. Here we're on about 5 or 6 buildings, trying to run basically one dealership.
It builds character.
It does do that. It also gets my steps in, so
Yeah.
no complaints.
It's I like it.
Yeah, it's a very unique location, and really more than anything, it's about the people. It's got a very good group of people, some very tenured people. I have a salesman that's been there 22 years. He does a great job for us. He's very happy, and it makes all the difference.
Sure. So how valuable was your experience? I guess obviously pretty valuable, but if you can speak to the value of it and what you learned going through that trainee program, because I realize that's something very, very big in Group 1 stores and putting people in those programs. So just speak to that.
And for those that are watching, Group 1 is the corporate structure that owns all of the dealerships.
Yeah, a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. Here, based out of Houston, 150 dealerships nationwide, and we've got some in UK and Brazil as well. So now it's more of a global entity. But yes, third largest auto retailer in the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they do a good job.
Yeah.
We're just a small part of that very big picture. But back to the training program, I was in what they called the second class. They had one class go through back in probably 2008. Due to the bad economy of 2009, they kind of put a hold on it. 2010 was the second class, and I'll tell you, probably like anything in life, it's all about what you put into it. And if you're going to go in and do these jobs, you need to do them like that is your job. So you be there when you're supposed to be there, and you do the job. And just because you're a manager trainee, it doesn't give you any, throw out your sense of entitlement.
Yeah.
If you have to unload the parts truck at 5 a.m, you have to unload the parts truck at 5 a.m, because guess what? That's one piece of the business that makes the overall dealership work.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no job too small. And the nice thing about the exposure I got back then was nowadays I can jump back there and help out if need be. I can at least talk intelligently with the employees that do that job about their job.
Right.
And that builds some credibility in the job that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And if nothing else, about that I care.
Sure.
I admit there were jobs I hated doing.
Yeah.
There were jobs that were no fun, dirty jobs,
Mm-hmm.
but okay.
And you can relate to everybody on the team.
Correct.
And they
Yeah.
respect you that you've been
Yeah.
through that yourself.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Well, I think when you have the opportunity to go back and speak to whatever department at their level, because it's all different levels of acronyms and verbiage
Sure.
and terminology and just ways that you do business, and to be able to go back and speak to a sales manager about RDR in a vehicle and getting it ready for delivery, and then you go back to service department and talk to somebody about using the DMS system, and just all these different acronyms and things that you do. It's valuable to have to be able to talk about that.
Right. I can walk in and ask for give me the SOP list,
Right.
special order parts.
Correct.
But a salesman wouldn't know that.
Correct. Right. Absolutely. So we'll get back more into
Sure.
what you're doing currently. So when you moved to Cleveland,
Yeah.
what happened? What was the move to Cleveland about?
So I went to university. So I started off at Case Western Reserve. I thought I wanted to be an engineer.
Okay.
I was very sure I wanted to be an engineer. I don't even sure I really knew what an engineer was at the time, but I knew I liked math. I knew I liked science. So, it seemed like a natural fit. Both my parents are engineers.
Okay.
So I
You
said,
were
okay,
destined to be an engineer then.
that's what I thought.
Right.
Turns out otherwise. After about a year and a half, I realized this isn't going to be what I want to do.
Okay.
I'm not going to blame the school or anything. It was probably largely on me, but it was an interest level, and I just didn't have it.
Okay.
So I took a summer. I took a bunch of classes at a community college because I said, look, I'm not going to waste a bunch of money going to a nice, expensive university if I don't even know what the heck I want to do.
Sure.
So I took like 8 classes over the summer, and I realized I wanted to go to business school. Initially, I was thinking economics. As I learned more, I said, nope, finance. So I transferred to another school, John Carroll University, small Jesuit college, also outside of Cleveland, famous for like Don Shula.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the one person that people like to say, oh yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And went to business school and finished up with finance degree.
Okay.
And so while I was there, I interned at Merrill Lynch. And I was thinking I was going to go on that side of the finance business, global wealth management, being basically a financial advisor.
Yeah.
2 years interning, finishing up right at 2010. Economy not so good. They're definitely not too eager to hire somebody
Right.
with limited experience and no book of business, and frankly, no extended family that lives in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a shot, and I saw the writing on the wall very shortly after. Bank of America bought them out. Management changes were happening, and I bumped into a guy that once said, hey, if you ever don't love what you're doing, give me a call. I bet I can find you a job. So that day I called him, and he said, well, can you be down in Houston to interview, with me in Group 1 Automotive? And I said, well, sure. And my initial thoughts was going to be some sort of like office job, or,
Sure.
working somewhere at the corporate headquarters. And they said, no, we've got this great program. We're going to put you in a dealership. I said, okay, why not?
Right.
And, oh, you're going to wash cars. I said, well, okay, what else? And then they told me about the whole program. And I said, okay, I don't have a job now.
Mm-hmm.
I know I need to work.
Right.
I can live at my parents' house at least at first. And I get to come back to Houston. Sounds like a win to me.
So was this person up there? How did you get with that person in Ohio, in Cleveland?
So I was visiting Houston.
Oh, okay.
My brother
I gotcha.
was they were doing one of these, those kind of sports awards things at the end of the year.
Yes.
Where they get all the kids together, and his kid was playing some sport, I think football.
Okay.
And my brother was playing soccer, and so just kind of bumped into him in a line.
Okay.
And we just kind of exchanged some information. Of course, I was probably trying to earn his business as a Merrill Lynch global wealth manager, but
You were pitching them.
yeah, I was trying, but of course he had all that taken care of,
Right.
and no problem.
Yeah.
What he gave me was far more valuable than
Sure.
his.
Is he still in the business?
He is, yeah. He still looks after me,
He does.
kind of Godfather-esque,
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Cleveland though? I mean, why?
So Dad's originally from Cleveland.
My dad's originally from Cleveland.
Go figure. Really, what part? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay, my dad grew up in Lakewood. I just wanted to see something different,
Okay.
and like I kind of always knew I'd end up back in Texas one way or the other.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
Sure.
But I said this is an opportunity to see somewhere different, maybe find some sort of common ground with my dad.
Yeah.
He grew up there. We would visit there, but I never spent like a significant amount of time there.
Right.
And just see where that leads me.
Okay.
After about the first winter, I said, "This is a terrible idea. What the heck was I doing?" Like, the snow's great for the like first week.
Right.
For like a couple months, it's terrible.
Sure.
It goes all gray and cold, wet, sloshy.
Yeah.
I like twisted my ankle. I was on crutches the first winter. I slipped on the ice. I mean, it was a disaster.
Why? So what was the move to Brussels? What was that?
Dad's work. So Dad works for Shell.
Oh, okay.
So they transferred him over there. There was an opportunity for they were opening up a research facility. He's kind of on the chemical side of things.
Got it.
Very high advanced chemical engineering that I probably can't speak intelligently on. But
I got you.
But yeah, he helped open that up, and it was only supposed to be a year, and then it became 7. And I'm blessed for it. I'm
Sure.
not complaining by any means. I complained at first, but as an 11, 12-year-old kid, you don't always see the big picture.
When you go over there to do that with family, do they have you set up? Are you getting in there with other kids that are native, or you have other kids that are over there similar to your situation?
So it was a mix. I went to an international school. There were some native Belgians, but as a whole, international school and classes of 60-ish people. It went from pre-K to 12th grade, so all of your basically non-college schooling.
Yeah.
And they were very, they boasted 144 different nationalities. So it was kind of like, the United Nations of high schools. And
Sure.
but it learned you learn to appreciate other cultures, and you were exposed to things that had I gone to Katie Taylor, I probably wouldn't have been.
Right.
Plain and simple.
So when you have a class of 60, are you talking about 60
60
amongst
students.
all grades?
No, just one grade per grade. There was probably 1,000 kids.
So you had one class, you had 60 kids?
Yeah. Like as a grade.
I got you.
Yeah,
okay. All right. I was thinking you had...
Right. Like everyone in 9th grade, 60 people.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you still keep in touch with people that you had?
Not as good as I should have.
No?
A little bit here and there.
Yeah.
They all dispersed all over the world.
Right.
And even some that here back in the United States that, for whatever reason, like in life, people grow apart and they don't keep in contact as much as they should. And it's a shame because, frankly, it's easier than ever to keep in touch with people.
Absolutely.
Now it is.
Yeah. I mean, we're all Facebook friends, but I don't know what that counts for anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
I get all these requests from people I've never met.
Right.
So I said, okay.
Okay. So how did it get your working, and then you're married,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, how did that
So we
situation-
met in Cleveland.
Oh, you met in Cleveland.
We met
okay.
in Cleveland, yes.
All right.
We met at the first school, and we would bump into each other from time to time. She'd have a boyfriend, I'd have a girlfriend. We were always very cordial.
Yeah.
And then we waited till we both graduated, and we both lived in different cities. And that's when we decided to start dating, which was like probably the least convenient way to do this.
Correct,
yeah.
She was in Washington, D.C. I was here in Houston.
Okay.
Spent a lot of time in the airports. Paid a lot of money to United. But after about 9 months of the distance, she agreed to move to Houston, and we kind of got our apartment together, and it all worked out. But
Very good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you have children?
no children yet.
No children. Just
Maybe this year. We'll see.
Just you and her?
Yeah.
Okay.
We always kind of had this plan. It was like get married, get a house, then have some kids. And when we got married, we said, okay, we're going to wait a few years. Then we're going to get the house. Then we're going to have the kids. Well, in that time period, we get moved to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So we rented for 2 years. Then we bought a house. Then we got moved again.
Yeah.
And so, okay, I think we got roots here. I think we're good.
Okay.
We're here to
Yeah.
stay.
We're here to stay.
Well, and the car business is tough on family.
It can be.
Yeah.
The hours. I mean, I work 6 days a week. I don't complain about it.
Right.
I enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
So that's like 99.9% of why I'm always there. But
Right.
at the same time, it's been tough on my wife. She gets Saturdays off. She works a regular job, 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go in at 7 and come back at 7, 8, I mean, I can't complain because I'm at Advantage BMW and the hours are actually very nice.
You're right.
But, when you run like a Dodge store, you're open till 9, 10 o'clock at night. And at the end of the month, you might come home midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock
yeah.
in the morning. And that's okay. That's just part of the business. You can complain about it, but nothing's going to change. And
Right.
I mean, we're here for customers, right? And
Right.
if I'm about to lock the doors and it's 6:59 downtown Houston, and I have a customer walking to the door, well, the door's open,
Right.
and we're gonna do everything we can to help this customer. And if they don't buy a car that night, that's okay. That's okay.
Right.
Yeah, from the both you've been in the car business,
Yeah.
So I'm sure y'all see it 10 times harder than I do. But just from what I've been able to see, it's got to be tough on families.
Yeah. I'm married, have 2 kids.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, because you're like you said, you kind of know going into it that
You know what you're getting into.
you know what you're doing. I mean, this is just kind of the business. I
Yeah.
mean, you get used to it, and I'll have people, I'm sure they say it to you, like, oh my gosh, you like being there so much and all this. And
Right.
you're just, if you're going from being a school teacher to doing that, it's a huge shock.
Oh yeah.
Or working a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday kind of job. Yeah, it's a huge adjustment. You're not used to it. It's a problem because a lot of people are affected if you have family.
Sure.
But if you started working in that environment, it's just, this is just how it is.
Right. Ignorance is bliss. Right.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're missing.
Correct. Yeah.
But I mean, it's a concern, right? As we talk about having kids, et cetera. I mean, will my schedule always be this? I kind of hope not, because I
Right.
want to be there for it.
Right.
I don't want to miss the big things. But,
Right.
I accept the fact that there's a good chance I will miss some things.
Right. And, you got to remember it's a retail business.
Yeah, that's right.
And
It's
so
retail.
just like it is for people that work at the mall or for, do different things like that, like you say, I mean, you got a customer that comes in. I mean, I've stayed after work because a customer was supposed to come pick up their car
Right.
at 7 o'clock and they didn't. And I'm 5 minutes away. And it's just like, you can't just leave because you got to go. Like, you don't want to be that guy. You want to help out the customer and you want to be there for them so that they remember. I remember that experience I had. They were awesome. They stayed after. Go to them for
Of course.
purchasing a car, having your car serviced or anything like that.
And the sad part is, though, like, if you give a customer a bad experience, they'll tell 10, 12, 15 people.
Yes.
They'll get online, they'll roast you.
Yes.
And we get roasted every day, and sometimes we deserve it, sometimes we don't. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you give them that good experience, they might tell 2, 3 people. So it just goes to show how much harder you have to work to, like, provide that customer experience, to go that extra mile, to stay 5 minutes after 5 minutes after 5 minutes after.
Right.
Absolutely.
Just to take care of that customer, because you can't replace them.
No.
When a good customer is irreplaceable, and no matter how much money you spend later, once you lose them, you lose them.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. So I guess the next thing would be to kind of get into who you work for, which is not just Advantage
Sure.
and not just Group 1, but BMW.
Yeah.
And the car line and what your experience has been like with them, and just a little bit about that. And we can start getting a little bit deeper into that.
Sure. Okay. So, BMW, phenomenal engineering. No car drives like it. I mean, you can argue Porsche, and I'd say Porsche is a little bit of a different brand. It's a little different focus,
Mm-hmm.
but our cars drive phenomenal, and it's a sporty feel. And I get it's not for everybody, but once you get behind the wheel of a BMW, it's a special feeling.
Sure.
And it's definitely was something that, as a kid who liked cars, I aspired to drive a BMW. And I didn't know if I was going to buy one or own one or work at a dealership. I mean, that never crossed my mind when you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. But when you saw one on the road, you pointed it out.
Right.
You said, look at that. That's
Right.
a BMW. That's cool.
Sure.
Sure.
That's made in Germany.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, my wife is definitely a BMW girl,
Yeah, she's a fan. She's a fan.
as you well know.
Yeah, and we appreciate that.
And it's time for me to get over in there and trade something in and grab one myself.
Damn,
I'm looking at the new X7s coming out.
Yep, that's exciting.
That's a
vehicle
very
for us.
interesting vehicle. Tell us about that.
So I get an opportunity to actually drive one next week.
Let me know when it's
California.
in.
Yep.
You're going to
I'm going.
California.
Yeah, they won't let us take them to the
wow.
dealership just yet. They'll
All
be out. They're saying April. Give it April-ish. Maybe they show up a little bit earlier, end of March. Maybe they show up a little later, beginning of May. But April-ish. Full 3-row car, Tahoe size, Escalade size, biggest SUV they've ever made. First time they're making an SUV of this size and caliber It's supposed to be very off-road capable.
Wow.
Captain's chair, second row, or you can go with the bench. And, of course, it's going to be very luxurious. But, again, it's a BMW, so they're going to put it through its paces. And I'm going to try to do that myself, and we'll see.
So that means it's going to come in an M series as well?
There should be one later. So it's first offerings will be a 6-cylinder, which sounds underpowered, but we'll find out. And then, of course, the 5-liter V8 that we've offered in other vehicles, and that'll be plenty of power. Yes, an MX-7 at some point, which would be very exciting.
Yeah.
A 6-cylinder on a car?
Yeah, 6-cylinder. So I was a doubter when I saw the new X5 coming because it's a little bit bigger than the last one, and the 6-cylinder was fine in the previous generation, but I said, okay, well, this new X5 is a little bit bigger. Is it going to be enough? It's plenty. It's crazy. I don't know how they do it with a 6-cylinder anymore, because the amount of power you get out of a 6-cylinder is like, it doesn't even make sense anymore.
Right.
And even with our 4-cylinders, I mean, I don't talk about 4-cylinders that much because they're not like the exciting model or the exciting engine offering.
Correct.
But I've driven some of our new X3s. I've driven 3 Series. And if you didn't know it was a 4-cylinder, you wouldn't know.
Okay.
You know, the pickup, there's not a lot of turbo lag. I mean, it's a well-performing 4-cylinder. So they took that technology, put it in a 6-cylinder, and yeah, I mean, car goes. 400 horsepower to 6-cylinder.
Why a 6-cylinder though? Why did they want to offer that?
Gas.
Okay.
Gas. I mean, so 2 parts. Governments, of course,
Right.
Got a demand that everyone has better gas mileage.
Yes.
So you got to offer that, and at the same time, not everybody needs it. And of course, then it's a little bit less price.
Yes.
So we'll see on that car. I'm excited to drive it this next week, and hopefully I get to drive both of them. Just
let me know how that goes.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be very
Definitely.
cool.
Are the options the same with 6-cylinder and 8-cylinder, like as far as the interior options and all that?
Yep.
Okay.
You could debadge them and nobody would know the difference.
Are there other lines that are coming out? How's the line changing?
Sure.
How's BMW evolving?
It is so now we have more offerings than we've ever had, and I think that's going to continue. I'm not personally totally convinced that we need all these cars, but okay, I'm not buying them all, so hey, they know better than me.
Yeah.
We have a new 3 Series coming out, and we have a new Z4 coming out this year. The 3 Series is exciting because it's really the beginnings of BMW. The sports sedan. It's probably what they're best known for over the last 20, 30, 40 years. But getting a new one is exciting in the sense that it's just another step in that very iconic line.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be for everybody because we have seen people now going towards SUVs. But for those that know, they're very excited. We should see those probably towards the end of this month, maybe March. And then kind of in the summer, we'll see a new Z4, which replaces the previous Z4, which replaces the Z3. So 2-door convertible. It's going to be a true soft top convertible again. Sporty. I think they've done a heck of a job. It was a shared project with Toyota, of all things. So the new Supra has a lot of the same components because it was a joint venture, different power plants, and of course different fit and finish, and of course there's going to be a different logo on the front, but a lot of shared characteristics.
Okay.
And it's an exciting car.
With the Supra, a lot of shared. Okay.
Yep.
How are convertible sales these days? Are they as popular as they used to be?
I don't know that answer, to be honest. We sell them. We don't sell them in any great volume. I think in Houston it's a little bit tough. As much as we all want to go down to Galveston and drive our convertible and leave the top up, or top down for that matter, once you get back to the car, you're going to burn yourself. So in October, November, that we sell a lot more. Weather's just that much nicer.
Mm-hmm.
Makes people want to buy a convertible.
Correct. Yeah. You drive them then, you think, oh my God, why don't I have a convertible all year? And then you remember, oh yeah, the summer. That's why.
Yeah.
As much as everyone wants to see me sweat, it's probably not a good look for anybody. So convertible sales, I'd say they stays pretty steady, but it's not as strong as probably it would be in Florida or California, where they get a little bit more of that
for sure.
that breeze, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Are you starting to see the scales tip from vehicle sales as far as cars go versus SUVs?
Yeah. And it was It's been very noticeable in the last, I'll say 6, 7, 8 years. That's when we really started to see the SUV come on strong. In the end, Texas is a truck market. Yes, we're saying trucks, but we mean SUVs, especially in Houston. Any other brand, they're outselling their cars, 4 or 5 to 1.
Wow.
Here in BMW, we're probably more like 3 to 1. But yes, I mean, that's what people like. That's what they want to go towards. And I mean, these SUVs drive better than they ever have. They drive much more like cars. At the same time, they sit up. People believe them to be a lot more safe for that matter,
Sure.
better visibility.
Absolutely.
And, it's what the people want.
More
So-
storage room in the back.
You look in our service department, you'll see probably 60 to 65% of SUVs, and those are from years ago. And now on the sales side, true sales side, you're looking at 70% SUV almost.
Wow.
Yeah. So nice thing is now we have all these offerings. We've got a X1, X2, X3, X4, X5, X6, and now we'll have an X7.
Mm.
So BMW understands that, hey, that's what the customers want. So we're going to offer more SUVs. Some of them we could argue are really SUVs or not, but it's on that platform, and that's what we're selling. X3 is probably our hottest seller from a true volume standpoint. Price point plays into that. It's a little bit bigger than it's ever been. It's new for 2018. They did a heck of a job. My wife's been driving them
Why
pretty
didn't
much
you
exclusively.
Tell me all this before I bought the X2.
The X2 is supposed to be a kind of little go-getter car. So
It was for the wife's employees.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
it all worked out. You got a starter there.
Yeah.
If she does a really good job, maybe get her an X3 next time. I don't
There you
know.
go.
What are you thinking will be the competition with the X7 in the luxury market?
So, of course, Mercedes has an offering. Audi has an offering. Lexus has 2 offerings that are third row capable, bigger SUVs. Of course, you got to talk about Range Rover. They do a heck of a job, especially from a marketing standpoint.
Right.
They're very popular amongst the elite. You see them in the nicest neighborhoods in Houston. I think we will be able to take some of those customers. I mean, another competitor would be the Escalade. It's all in that kind of price point. Time will tell. I think, ours is definitely the most fresh because we've never done this car before. And I think people are going to be excited for it.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
I'm a potential buyer for that. I want to see it when it comes in.
Good.
Absolutely.
Good.
Fresh definitely gets people's attention. I mean, when you
It
get
does.
a new design or a new model in, I bet those sales spike pretty high. at
My
first.
only fear is that it's going to take away from 7 Series sales because now we're offering this big SUV that we never offered before.
Yeah.
And with the climate going away from cars, they're going to get a little bit more room, and it's going to be less than a 7 Series or close to in price. So why wouldn't they go with the new car, right? The X7.
Do you have any idea what competition car is one? I don't think fear is a good word, but just
Sure.
one that you're just like, this is one this other brand is really going to compete really well with that car. Like one that makes you nervous.
I mean, I'm not all that nervous about it. I know there's a lot of quality offerings. Lexus does very well here in Houston. I mean, very, very, very well, and have been for a long time, especially when it comes to SUVs. Mercedes does a good job, but ours is new, and I think ours is going to have a lot of great technology in it that people haven't seen in these kind of cars before,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's going to push them over the edge.
Like what? What new technology?
Well, I haven't been allowed to divulge all of it yet because it's not out. But there's gonna be some. Well, I can say this. So on our new 8 Series coupe,
Mm-hmm.
we've got the new infotainment system that BMW's come up with, and it's very slick. The digital cluster to replace the analog cluster, where you can change it out to make it fully a map. You can do all sorts of various functions in there. It's a very nice look. It's a very clean look. There's so much on it that I'm probably going to have to take like the remedial class and then have that follow up. And hopefully I get like a passing grade at some point to talk, intelligently on all the technology that's offered. But things that we never thought we needed before are in these cars standard now. Like when we were younger, when we were getting our driver's license, I mean, you didn't have a backup camera.
Right.
You didn't have a car that could parallel park for you. All you have to do is pull up to the spot and hit a button, and then you just take your foot off the brake as needed.
That's crazy.
Right? I would have passed my driving test the first time if I had that. I only missed on the parallel parking.
I don't even think they do that anymore in the driving test.
Probably not.
Probably don't need to. I mean, if you got cars doing it themselves.
Well, right. So things like that, you know, we were never spoiled by, but once you have it, people don't want to give it up.
I've been, as I told you, I've been in the car business for a while and on the service side, and I'll never forget. I had a customer that came in one time and said she had a blind spot monitor, and it stopped working. And her question to me was, you know, she was explaining, she was very upset. I said, okay, well, I understand that you want to have that function and you want it to work. And she said, well, how am I going to know if anybody's coming beside me? Like, that's how dependent on that technology that people have gotten, is that if that's not working, even though your mirrors are working just fine, you can see out of your mirrors, that function stopped working, and it paralyzed her. She was just like, how do I know if anybody's coming beside me? And
what was the first thing that popped in your mind when she asked you that question?
There were a lot of things that popped in my mind when she asked
Tell me one
question.
of them.
I wanted to ask her, say, well, what did you do before you had this technology? Right. You know, like, what did you looked in your mirror, you looked over your shoulder, or, you know, I don't know, but that's, yes. I mean, people have gotten to a point, and I even had a truck that you put in reverse, backup camera comes on, and you go back there, and I ended up getting rid of it, getting a car that didn't have that feature anymore. But I still, every now and then, will put it in reverse and look straight at my center display.
Yep.
And it's not there. There's nothing there for me to look at, but you just get used to it.
Sure.
I mean, it's we get spoiled.
We do.
With our cars.
We do. I try to take all the, what they call them, driver aids off, like the lane keep assist and the hey, you're coming too close to this car, it's going to tell you to start braking. And it's not anything to do with my driving. I just don't want to get used to it.
Right.
I don't want to become dependent on it. And they're great for a lot of people. And if you want, I know on the X7 they're going to have a kind of a radar cruise control where you could basically set it to a certain speed, follow that car X amount of car lengths away, keep yourself in the lane keep assist, and you pretty much don't have to have your hands on the wheel.
Correct.
Now, I'm not saying you should. You should have both hands on the wheel at all times.
Right.
But that's the dependency we're coming to. And the technology is good.
A lot of that technology I don't like. I don't like it when it vibrates when it crosses the line or it tries to steer me back into the line. I turn all those off.
Well, you just use a turn signal, it won't do it.
Wow.
That's something about you driving, Johnny.
Thank you.
but yes, I'm with you. I agree. And I'm guilty of it too.
You were
I don't
outed.
always use my turn signals.
You were outed on
I
that.
admit.
You were outed on that.
But those, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm going to get in a wreck when it tries to automatically do stuff for you.
Right. And
Maybe
call
I'm
me
old
paranoid.
school.
I just don't trust it all.
Call me old school.
Yeah, there you go.
You're not following the rules, Johnny. You're not using your blinker.
Well, I haven't got a ticket for it.
It's like the basketball rule. If you or whatever sport, it's not a foul if you don't get caught, right?
There you go.
All right. What do you have somebody at the dealership that helps people in that process when they buy a car and going through that, showing them how everything works?
So we do it two parts. One, probably three parts. We try to show them some features during the test drive.
Yes.
At the same time, we want the customer to drive the car, to feel the car. Don't worry about so much of the options, but we're going to show you a few things it can do. Second part is after they've agreed to buy the car, they've gone and done all the paperwork, and we're doing the delivery. We have BMW Geniuses, is very similar to an Apple Genius, where they know all the technology, they know how to do all this stuff on all these different cars, and frankly, they're invaluable to dealership because
and that's all they do.
That's all they do.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we try to do is then schedule the customer to come back in later, whether it be weeks later, days later, months later, to do what we call an encore. And so they'll come back in and we'll say, hey, what do you need help with? Let me go over all this stuff again. And realistically, say the car's got, 10, 12, 15 different features. People are going to use the 50% of that they're very comfortable with and probably not use the rest of it. They'll turn stuff off. I mean, there's a feature called gesture control where you can just use your finger to turn up the volume, turn down the volume. You kind of swipe this way. You can make the phone call go away. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's very
Bliss loved that.
Yeah, it's very David Copperfield. You're like a magician. You're doing stuff without actually touching the buttons.
You can tell it to pause and play.
Oh, look at this. He knows. He knows.
I do.
He listened to his BMW Genius.
I was.
You built one for us.
Well, that we had the gesture controls. My wife doesn't like it when I start doing this when she's talking. And it's not because I'm telling her to talk quicker. It's that the volume keeps going up.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, she finds it very disrespectful. I'm just doing it as a joke. But those features, I mean, while cool, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
If you talk with your hands a lot, you end up changing the radio station just because it's picking up that.
Right.
So I've had to turn that off from time to time. You listen to a song, you like it, you're talking to somebody in the car, you do this, and all of a sudden the radio station changes.
Yeah.
But it's there. It's available. Some people really love it. And with all those features, yes, it requires these BMW Geniuses. We have 5 Geniuses, and that's all they do is basically help customers with the technology, because the technology is, like in a lot of industries, is going way quicker than we can keep up with.
Oh, absolutely.
Way quicker. And we don't even know what the next set of, crazy car technology is going to be out there, but we've got things called BMW laser lights, and I mean, they're the most fancy headlamps ever. Can I tell you what they do? No. I have no idea what they do.
Laser
but
lights.
they're like a $6,000 option
Wow.
on the i8, and they look really cool. But I couldn't tell you why. But they're supposed to be the best headlights ever. And I said, okay, I believe you.
Hey,
At $6,000, I believe you.
I believe you too at that price tag.
Heck yeah.
And it's got to be. It's got to be great.
Yeah.
I'm spending
And I'll
that.
tell you, my geniuses can tell you why.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why it's great.
Wow.
We need to bring in one of the geniuses for one of these.
I don't know if we want to let the geniuses out of the cage. They're good. No, they're all good people. But
So what would you say differentiates you with some of the other luxury brands? Because y'all all kind of have your own little niche with Mercedes
Sure.
or Lexus or...
so as a brand, it's definitely driver focused. Where Mercedes, we could say is very very more like luxury. Car's a little bit softer ride. It's probably a little bit more comfortable, to be honest. But if you're a true driver and you like to feel the road and you like the responsiveness of a steering wheel, it's really BMW. I think that's especially with the amount of offerings we give you, is that we can find a car for a driver that's maybe not even like such a driver that they need an M car or one with like a big V8, but even in a simple X3 with a 4-cylinder, you still feel like you're connected. You're driving. It's the ultimate driving machine, right? That's what we keep telling ourselves.
Well,
it's true. It really is, and that focus goes through the whole line, and that's the customer.
Okay. You say Mercedes, Audi?
Yeah, Audi.
something comparable?
It's funny. We always know when it's an Audi customer because they ask us about all-wheel drive.
Okay.
And yeah, Audi does a great job. Quattro system, it's iconic, right?
Yeah.
But anytime we have a customer that says, "Hey, do you have that in all-wheel drive?" We already know what their trade-in is. It's going to be an Audi. 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially here in Houston,
Sure.
where when it rains, the all-wheel drive's really great, but you're not going to use it for snow or elevation or anything like that.
Yeah.
Which is what that function is really used for when it comes to that Audi brand.
That's what
correct?
they advertise it mostly with. I mean, they had some good ads along the way. I remember one in particular where it was kind of a play on Moby Dick and the white whale, and the guy's running through the snow, and the record driver can never catch him because he never ends up, in the snow or in a ditch or anything like that.
I think I remember that commercial.
Yeah, it was I think that was a very clever one. A little highbrow, but it was good.
Yeah.
And that's what the Quattro was pushed for was rally racing and snow, and not a lot of what you'd encounter here in Houston, but that's okay.
What about BMW compared to a brand like Lexus?
So it's very different. Lexus does a heck of a job. I'm going to say that right now. I started with Lexus.
Yeah.
So, and especially on the SUV front, that RX 350 outsells anything else in the market, period, end of story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very comfortable car. RX 350, yeah, the midsize SUV.
Okay.
You see, I mean, you see them everywhere.
You know exactly what
Yeah.
it is. I'll point. Oh, that car. Yeah, I've seen tons of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's not driver focused. It's not a performance vehicle, but it's a very nice car, and they have very few problems and good reliability and good dependability, and people are very happy with them. And usually, what they trade in on a Lexus is another Lexus.
Yeah. Is BMW really a little bit more younger demographic than older, or?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Now, that's starting to change a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want to start to get into the whole millennial thing, but it was, for a lot of people, it was an aspirational vehicle.
Yes.
When you came home in a BMW, like you made it, right? You're successful. That's starting to change a little bit, especially on the sedan standpoint. And BMW's been a little bit more normalized. I mean, it's one of the most recognizable brands just from the symbol alone,
yes.
In the world.
Yeah.
So that's changed a little bit, but I've look, today we had a nice young couple in there getting an X3. Their family's expanding, and they're trading in a 3 Series on X3, and that's what we're looking to do. I mean, I'd love to bring people over from Mercedes and show us why we're different, Audi, Lexus, etc. If it fits, it fits, and that's great. But it's really nice to see a customer go from the beginning of a 3 Series to maybe an X3 to maybe a 5 Series to an X5. Like as their life progresses, as changes happen in their personal lives, and ultimately maybe someday they get a 7 Series, whatever. But it's very cool to see that, and we have a lot of customers, especially at Advantage, which we're very grateful for. That we look back and we say, hey, this guy's 20th BMW,
Wow.
25th BMW.
Yeah.
He's been with us a long time, and of course we're very appreciative of that, because I mean, how many times can you say that on a customer, especially given frankly the nature of the cost of the vehicle, right? It's,
Sure.
Yeah, these aren't the least expensive vehicles out there by any means, and it always amazes me. And it's typically with that salesperson I mentioned earlier, 22 years. He'll tell me, hey, this guy's like 9th car, and of course I get out from under my desk and I say, hey, thank you so much. I mean, we really appreciate the business over all these years. And he probably looks at me funny and says, I don't know who this guy is, but that's okay. I appreciate him.
Right.
And that's the one thing I think as a brand, Advantage might do to differentiate itself versus not only other brands but other dealerships, is that we still want to sell new cars. We still want to give that experience. We want to treat the customer with that luxury feel, and maybe that's gone away a little bit. The old school retail mentality of going that extra mile for the customer and having the amenities and frankly just answering the phone when they call has gone away a little bit.
Yes.
And you see it, and of course it gets magnified on social media, but we're still proud to sell new cars. We're still proud to give the experience that we think people deserve. Do we get it right every time? Absolutely not. We mess up, we make mistakes. We're human.
Mm-hmm.
But the intent's always there. And some of our competitors want to sell these retired loaner cars, and they want to give these big, $10,000 off on an X5. But in the end, when there's an issue, they probably won't be there. Probably won't be there. And I'm not trying to throw mud on anybody, but
Right.
this is just the way we're doing business, and that's the way we've decided to do business, and we hope it'll pay dividends in the long run.
Well, I'm sure. Advantage BMW is here in the Houston area is well-known name.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that.
Right.
Yeah. So when someone comes to buy a car
Sure.
at Advantage BMW, what's that? We'll talk a little bit about the dealership itself and
Sure.
what you guys get. What's that process like? I mean, if I'm going to come into Advantage BMW and buy a car, what am I expecting it? How am I expecting it to go?
So one thing that a lot of people complain maybe that the internet gives customers too much information. And I say otherwise. It's great when a customer comes in and says they know what they want.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that once they start doing a little bit of the consultation with a client advisor, they find out that's not what they wanted in the end.
Okay.
Whether it be because of price, whether it be because they thought this option did something else, whether it be because they saw this color on the internet, and when they see it in real life, it's not the color they wanted.
Right.
That happens all the time. So that first 20 minutes, half hour, is spent going over what they're looking for. Kind of, we call it a needs assessment. What do they need? What do they want? What options are important to them? What aren't? We find color tends to be pretty flexible. Do you like a light color? Do you like a dark color? Go from there, and then the test drive. Right, that's the next part of once we figured out kind of a car that's what they want, that's what fits their needs, fits their budget, etc. We try to take them on a test drive and then wow them there, show them the features, and then we try to work out the numbers. Fortunately, it's just numbers, and that's frankly the easiest part of the whole thing. I know from a consumer standpoint, that's the most dreaded part is when am I going to start negotiate the numbers? When am I going to find out what my payment is? What are they going to try to do? That's the easy part. Those are numbers. That's easy. The hard part is finding the right car for the right customer that fits their needs. Sometimes it fits their budget. Mm-hmm. At BMW, we're a little bit blessed in the sense that most of our customers, the budget can be expanded. They got a little bit more disposable income, but finding all those items, that's the hard part, and that's what the salespeople do best. And that's why I'm a big advocate for true salespeople that know their product, that know what they're talking about, to be experts in their line of work. Mm-hmm. When we go to replace a salesperson or add a salesperson, I can put an ad out there and I can ask for anybody to come in, and we'll talk to people, but I'm really looking for the best of the best. And I don't need to add a body for the sake of adding a body if I don't think he's going to or she's going to fit our culture.
Mm-hmm. I will say that you can feel that as soon as you walk in your location.
I appreciate
the location itself is nice. It's well kept. It's really cool. I like going upstairs and seeing the cars up there, trying to figure out how you got them up there. But just the environment, the hangout center, the waiting area, just across, it's 100% professional. Yeah, and
that's what we shoot for.
Well, it's inviting, as to where many dealerships are turnoffs, and you just feel like everybody's staring at you as soon as you walk in the door. I didn't get that when I walked in.
Oh,
I knew I was going to come see you directly anyways. Right. But I'm always observant of all that, just from knowing all the different people in the car business and seeing how people react to it.
And it's a business that gets probably a bad name overall. I mean, I can name probably a few that are thought of worse, but we can probably name a lot that are thought of better, but it's a great business, and in the end, it's a people business. It's not about the cars. It's not about the brands. It's about the people, whether it be your people or the customers walking through the door. And if you can get quality people to help the customers, the cream just rises.
Yeah. Well, just knowing you, you got a customer for life out of me and my family.
I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, it's nice to go somewhere and just, what I would say, get treated normal, but it feels so extra special because there's so many other people out there not doing it. And y'all do it the right way, so thank you for that.
Appreciate that.
Well, and what I would tell people too, whenever I would talk to, and for those that don't know, I've myself have been in the car business for a while. I would tell people sometimes when they would get that nervous mentality about just because we're so used to it because you've been in the business for so long, but it is nerve-wracking for
Absolutely.
people. And they're very standoffish, very, afraid to, I don't want to tell you too much because then you'll do that,
Right.
And I've told people before, I said, look, I understand why you feel that way. I'm not saying that it's going to go like that here. Mm-hmm. I know the kind of people you're talking about. I've worked with those people. There's definitely those people that have earned the reputation of the car business guy,
right,
whatever, or girl, whatever that is. But I've met a lot more people that aren't that way than I have that are in business.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's been your experience as well.
Absolutely. And I've been blessed from the beginning to work at great dealerships with great people that have either taught me something. And sometimes, when you work with people, even the not so good people, you learn something, and it's not so much what to do, it's what not to do. But
yes.
That's okay. You're always learning, right?
Right. So what would you say the tenure is of your sales staff?
It's pretty strong. I don't want to average it out, but it's, I know we got a couple of 20. So we got a 20-year guy. We've got a guy that's been there probably 20 years. He started in service. He came over to sales. A fair amount of 10-plus year guys. But at the same time, people retire.
Sure.
People move on. People go off to do other things. So we've got a nice group of younger guys that are coming up through the sales floor that have bright futures ahead of them.
And you guys have a pretty extensive training program. Does BMW instill that training program, or is that something through Group 1?
2 parts. Well, 3 parts. So a lot of it's gone to online training, frankly, due to costs and travel and all the expenses that are incurred. So most of it is now online with BMW product knowledge, et cetera. A new car comes out, boom, there are the videos. Start learning the car. Great. Group 1 provides training for salespeople as well, also online based. But at the dealership level, we hold training once a week. And it's true training, objections, how to do a proper walk around, needs assessments. We do some role playing. We talk about it probably at least 2-3 times a week, but true training from a kind of hands-on experience is done once a week, and it's actually done on Wednesday mornings. And I let both management teams train with their salespeople in the morning, and it's probably the best 30 minutes that we spend all week with each other, just trying to get better.
Sure.
Right? Just trying to hone our skills, be experts, be professionals.
Because when it comes down to it, you can do all the, like you talked about, needs assessment, learn all the bells and whistles, do all that stuff. At the end, it just comes down to
it's people.
Just treating people right. And, having manners and answering questions and just going above and beyond what you can do to help somebody out.
People taking care of people.
Yeah.
And we find, look, there's a lot less discussion about price and payment when a customer's comfortable that they know that, like, we're all on the same team here.
Sure.
Because we really are.
Right.
It never feels that way, and I understand why. But if they're there to buy a car, guess what? We're there to sell a car. We're not a museum. We don't get credit for keeping these cars. Like, it's just the facts. Like, they gotta go.
Right.
Great news. They'll paint another one exactly that color. Yes, there will be some constraints, and of course, limited production vehicles, like for instance the M850. Sure, there's some supply and demand issues there.
Yeah.
But you come in and want to buy a 3 Series or an X3 or an X5 from me. Well, good chance we're going to put something together. If you're serious about buying a car, and if you're not, that's okay. That's okay.
Right.
Come look. Come figure it out, because there are other offerings out there from competitors, and in this day and age, especially a luxury car. Nobody makes a bad luxury car. They just can't. Competition's too high.
Right.
Even Hyundai wants to make a luxury car. They've got the Genesis line.
Yeah.
And I haven't driven them, but I've heard good things.
Right. It's the competition is in every manufacturer, whether it's Highline or just your regular, I don't say regular, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
The competition is fierce all the way around. And if you're not doing what you can to improve your car and your product and your services and
that's what I've noticed from a marketing standpoint is because of the internet, because you can go online and shop, because of the the eBays or the Texas Directs that are just about the volume and not necessarily profits. It's most pricing is very competitive. It's not like they walk in your doors and they can't see it online like they 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So now it comes down to customer service.
Yep.
That's what sells cars these days. That's what I try to tell my clients. It is customer service. It's online reputation. It's how you handle the people when they're in your store. It's how your store looks. I've been in a dealership, not saying any names, where I've walked in the bathrooms. It is disgusting in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if this is how you keep up with the interior of your location, how are you keeping track of the cars? How are you doing with service and all the other stuff that you perform? Are you treating your employees or training them the same way that you keep your bathrooms?
Right.
It's all across the board. It's a customer service, quality control is what moves cars these days.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know that better than anybody.
Yeah, we can sell the first car in the sales department, but the next car and the car after that and the car after that, it's all going to be done in the service department. And look, when you go to service, even for a routine oil change, you probably want to be somewhere else. It's like, sometimes it's like the dentist, right? You got to go, you just don't want to because it could be pain, right? It could be pain, whether there's a repair you find that you have to do, another expense is incurred, whatever. But it's how you treat the people. And even when we do make a mistake, I find most customers are very understanding. Now, if you keep making mistakes, you're probably going to lose a customer. But, you know, a one-off every once in a while, these things happen.
Right.
Because, yes, these cars aren't perfect. No, nobody's car is perfect, by the way. That's why they all have warranties. That's literally the manufacturer saying, hey, this car's probably not perfect. Mm-hmm. So, you know, you take advantage of that warranty. And at the same time, you know, people are working on this. Whether it is the service advisor, he didn't notate the correct, you know, concern from the customer, which then, of course, led the technician to fix the wrong thing, or the technician just fixed the wrong thing because he thought it was one thing versus the other. Well, I mean, whatever. But it's how you handle the situation.
Sure.
It's very easy to be dismissive, but you know, you own it. You say, hey, we messed up. This is what we're going to do to fix it. And 9 times out of 10 customers are just fine. Just fine.
I know I've told plenty. I'll say it to anybody that listens to me. And people may disagree with me in the car business, but I think the service advisor is one of the
It's the hardest job. It's the hardest job. I knew what you were going to say. Hardest job in the dealership.
Yes.
As one that's done it, 100%.
Yeah.
And the one thing that in some other dealerships that I've either worked at or, you know, visited, there can be this combative service versus sales. And the salespeople always say, well, you know, service made them mad, so that's why they didn't buy a car again. I invite a lot of my salespeople, hey, you want to go try that job? Because I'll tell you, you can't cut it.
Correct.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And so we've increased how many service advisors we have at Advantage BMW. When I wrote service there 6, 7, 8 years ago, there was 11 of us. And we thought, okay, we got this. You know, 10 customers per person, no big deal. No, these cars are too hard. They're too complicated. We've gone up to 20. We had as many as 23 service advisors at one point.
Wow.
Yeah, so over double. And it's to minimize how many customers each advisor touches, to just give that much better of an experience.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're running around and
it's insanity.
You're not able to give the people the attention that they deserve.
And to follow up on your commitments, right? So when a customer drops off a car, what do you usually say? Hey, I'll call you when I know something, or I'll call you at 2:00, and then all of a sudden it's 4:00 and you didn't call a customer, and guess what they're thinking?
Right.
They forgot about me. They don't care. Whatever. So if we can minimize how many customers each advisor takes, and it's, of course, there'll be some based on their skills.
Sure.
You know, some can take more, some can take less. It's okay. But then we can give a much more consistent customer experience, and that's the key.
And that's what you can expect at Advantage BMW.
That's right.
Good. Very good. So we've been talking quite a bit now.
We have been,
and I know we've hit a lot of things that we want to, and we don't want to hit it all, just because we hope to have you back more often to have more conversation. Because as you know, we can talk all elements of the car business for hours.
Yeah.
And sales and service and parts, and so that's kind of what we're hoping to have as far as have you on more often.
Yeah, on the next show, I want to get in. It doesn't have to be the next one, but all of the extras that y'all do for the vehicles, you know, talking about service and advisors.
Yeah.
You know, the custom wheels, you're fixing up one of our cars right now with exhausts and coils and suspensions and rims, and you're doing all the aftermarket cool stuff that I used to have to take it to other places, and now you do it all for me in-house. So I want to talk more about that the next time we're on.
Well, Houston's it's a car city, and people like to be different. You know, they don't want their car to be exactly the same as, like, the worst thing I think for a Houstonian is to pull up right next to the same car. It's the exact same one. They say, oh my God. So they got to do something different. And it's whether it's a bumper sticker. I mean, you can go as light as that, or to a full on, you know, a wrap, or lifting cars, or lowering cars, or you know, custom exhaust or custom interiors, whatever. It's an exciting time in the business. There's a lot of offerings.
And BMWs definitely are fixed up.
Oh, they can be.
People get
they
BMW.
can be. Oh, yeah.
Well, and I've seen more stuff done at Advantage BMW on just, you walk in, there's 6 cars wrapped. They all have rims on them. Half of them have blacked out exhaust.
Okay.
There's some nasty
so yeah, we can talk
there.
about all that. I'll do that, because I'm sure there's a lot, like you said. I know the street car scene in Houston is a really big thing.
It is.
And a lot of people wanting to do that to their car. A lot of people. So to end it up,
Sure.
We're at the point where we're gonna end it.
I'm gonna thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And,
Absolutely.
And is there anything, Phillip, you wanna add at the very end here? Because we just wanna make sure that we're showcasing you and showcasing your dealership. So
it's been great. By all means, come visit us at Advantage BMW.
We're gonna get your website and phone number.
Yeah, we'd love to see you. Whether it be new car, used car, certified pre-owned. At the same time, we do monthly service events. So we've got one coming up. But come in, check us out.
Well, and I'll share this. I've been in the. I don't want to keep saying it because I'm sure people are telling me to shut up about it. But I've been in the car business a long time. I've had a lot of different general managers. I've been in business with a lot of different people. First time I've ever met you, Phillip. First time we've ever met. We met when we first sat down and started doing this. So just in my short time meeting you, and for people out there listening, Phillip, I get good vibes from you and how you do your business and how you look at your business and your employees and your customers. And
now you see why I wanted to get them on the show.
I think that that's something that, because I've seen the bad side and I've seen the good side, and just from our conversation, we've been talking an hour, maybe a little bit over an hour, and I see the good side. I think people need to know that when it comes to where they're buying cars or where they're having their car serviced, the people at the top can show you what the people at the underneath are doing in all departments. And I think from what I'm seeing from you, I think you got some good people there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, not a problem.
So much.
But yeah, I echo what he said. Thank you for coming in and look forward to more of it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you guys.
Cool.
Not a
Sounds
problem.
good. We'll see you soon, boss. Take care.